my name is Sarah, and today we're talking about Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. It is my first book review of 2016, and I am super excited. I know technically 2 book reviews have already gone up on this channel, but both of those were for books that I read in December of 2015, and this is the first book that I finished in 2016, and what a way to start off a new reading year. This book was absolutely fantastic. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and just loved everything about it, so prepare yourself for a lot of gushing in this review. So if you're not familiar with it, Station 11 is an adult sort of speculative fiction dystopian type novel that primarily centers around a flu pandemic that wipes out 99% of the world's population. The story begins one night in Toronto when a famed actor, Arthur Leander, drops dead on the stage of King Lear. That same night, the Georgian flu arrives in Toronto, and less than a month later, 99% of the world is dead. The book is written in a non-linear fashion, so we hop around in time from the night that the flu first arrives in Toronto to 20 years after the world's population has been wiped out, to the weeks and months and years leading up to the arrival of this pandemic in North America, and all of the years in between. The story is also written from multiple points of view, so as we are hopping around in time, we are also hopping around and getting to know the point of view of 5 different characters throughout the story. But the main character we follow throughout most of the story is Kirsten Raymond. On the night that the Georgian flu arrives in Toronto, Kirsten is an 8-year-old child actress performing in the same production of King Lear as Arthur Leander. 20 years after the Georgian flu arrives, Kirsten has survived and travels around the upper United States with a symphony performing Shakespeare. So like I said, I loved everything about this story. I really wasn't sure what to expect going into it. I knew that it was an adult dystopian, I knew that it was written in a non-linear style, and that was about all I knew before I picked up the book. And I was completely blown away. The story is beautiful and thought-provoking and evocative. The character development is fantastic, and I loved everything about this story. Generally, I am a fan of multiple points of view, but I am usually not a fan of the non-linear style of writing. I have read very few books where I felt that the non-linear style contributed to the overall delivery of the story and didn't take away from or pull me out of the story as I was reading. I think it can be very difficult to do well, but Mandel does a fantastic job with the non-linear story. And the way that she weaves everything together and transitions from one time to the next, from one character to the next, is flawless and beautiful and so lovely. Mandel's writing style is flawless and it just seems very refined and lovely, and the story just flows so beautifully. There was never a moment that I felt dragged or was difficult to get through. It all just sort of rolls from one moment to the next, and when you transition from one time to another time or from one character to another time, it makes perfect sense why you hopped from one place to the next or one character to the next, and it all just fit so seamlessly, which absolutely amazes me. I loved it. So as far as our characters are concerned, like I said, the one we spend the most time with is Kirsten Raymond. When we first meet her at the beginning of the story, she's only 8 years old, and we primarily follow her journey 20 years after the fact as a 28-year-old traveling around with this symphony performing Shakespeare. She's a really tough character, but obviously cares very deeply about the people that she now knows and loves and has interacted with over the last 20 years. I don't really want to tell you too much about the characters though, because part of the joy of this character development is seeing how all of the character arcs unfold and how everyone is connected with each other and how that affects the people that they were and the people they become, and it's just so fascinating. But I think the thing that I loved the most about the story, aside from the beautiful writing and the beautiful characters and the way everything just weaved and flowed together, is the themes and philosophical questions that Mandel puts forth in this novel. There are several little ones that are sort of sprinkled throughout individual scenes and individual interactions with characters, but 2 of the big themes we encounter are this theme of survival and what it takes to survive, and that tends to be a theme that runs through a lot of dystopian and post-apocalyptic novels, but she tackles it in a different way, in that part of the beauty of this story, and I can see why it was written the way it was written, is that survival is so often intricately linked to our reliance on other people. And you can see in all the ways that all of these characters are linked together just how tightly knit this world is, whether we realize it or not. One thing that hit me the most, though, was a theme that gets talked about a little bit with the character of Clark. Prior to the Georgian flu wiping out the world, Clark is basically a person who goes to companies and fixes their executives. So a big part of Clark's job is to interview all of the people that this executive interacts with, from their personal assistants to their subordinates, etc. And there's one particular scene where Clark is having a conversation with one of the employees that is under this executive he is working with. And she says that it feels like the guy is sleepwalking, that he just started a job and got into it and stayed with it because it was easy and it was secure and it was stable, but he's just sleepwalking through his whole life and he never does anything that he actually cares about. And I remember finishing that chapter and going, oh my goodness, like I just had to sit there for a minute and process it, and I just started thinking about like how common that is and how easy it is for people to just sleepwalk through life, to get into something that they don't really care about or really love because it's easy or it's practical or it's safe or secure or whatever. And I just started thinking about my own life and sort of have been going over things and questioning all of the things that I do, not just the big things like a job or whatever, but all of the things that I do, and going, okay, do I do this thing because I love this thing and I care about this thing, or do I do this because it's safe and it's easy and it's secure and it's what's expected or it's what I should do or whatever? And I just, oh my gosh, so many thoughts came from this one idea. And this book, it's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful, and I highly, highly recommend it. Beautiful writing, A+ character development, so many just wonderful themes that will get your mind going, and it's just an absolutely lovely, lovely, wonderful story that is a new favorite, and I am sure I will be reading and rereading for years and years to come. Well, there you have it, friends. That is my review of Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. If you have read the book, I would love to hear your thoughts, particularly on the theme of sleepwalking, so please let me know in the comments. If you want to follow me elsewhere online, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, all at Sarah Ann Hayes. The links for those profiles will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye! It takes place primarily in, it takes place in different characters, and, so we hop around to different, so we also follow the story of Jeevan Chaudhary, first review of 2016. Woohoo! We'll see how many I do this year.